Hi, everyone. My name is Evan Finley, and today we are presenting Geostationary Environmental Satellites, the Future of US-China Collaboration. Dorian, Durga, Jiaheng, and Chaoyue, and myself are very excited to present this untapped market and discuss how US-China collaboration in this space is of great potential. We're going to start off of our 6 topics we plan to discuss today with a historical overview of US-China space collaboration.
Let's have an overview of Sino-US space collaboration. The first stage is from 1978 to 2000, when China began to emerge as a space power in the 80s and 90s. It is the third nation to launch its own satellites into space, just after the US and USSR. China's Long March rockets characterized its developing space program and demonstrated the Chinese engineering prowess and ingenuity. However, the U.S. national security concerns over sharing technical installed collaboration between China and U.S. The second stage is from 2000 to 2021. The relationship between China and US became characterized by rising of competition, hostility, and shows of soft and hard power. Therefore, cooperation in space becomes less feasible. And today, China and US are the 2 largest space powers, comprising approximately 70% of space funding. Therefore, cooperation is yet untested and can provide benefits transcending national borders. Thank you.
So next we will talk about the current satellite capabilities here. So both China and the US have advanced satellites which are used to monitor and measure the environment. The US GOES-18 system covers the Americas and monitors severe weather, hurricanes, aviation, natural hazards, the atmosphere, oceans, fire detection events that cause flooding and mudslides. Also, the air quality warnings and alerts, volcanic eruptions, sea surface temperature, and radiation hazards. And also, China has this satellite called Huanjing 2E, covers disaster prevention and mitigation, as well as resources monitoring and environmental protection, including water conservation, agriculture, forestry, and other satellites owned by both nations function in detection of methane emission. And also, information from these satellite systems can be used to prepare for natural disasters, track the progression of climate change, and even increase transportation safety.
Next, we'll go into the need for intervention. So here you can see that major regions around the world rely on geostationary satellites to provide specific data on the region. The Americas rely on GOES-18, Asia relies on Huanjing 2E, and Europe relies on the Meteosat MTG system. Currently, African nations rely solely on data from other regions. The EU's Meteosat satellite has Africa in view, but images of the continent of Africa are 4 times less frequently shown than the continent of Europe. This leaves African nations at a significant disadvantage. Natural disasters often show signs only minutes before they strike. Lacking a satellite solely focusing on the continent of Africa puts the continent's 1.4 billion people at undue risk. Our proposal aims to solve this. Next slide.
So getting into our group's proposal. We propose a 3-pronged approach, jointly developing African environmental monitoring abilities through collaboration between the United States NOAA, China's CAST, and the African Space Agency. Through a transfer of knowledge between these three agencies, the African Space Agency will gain the capabilities to develop its own geostationary environmental satellite, a first of its kind, which would mean that Africa would no longer have to rely on other regions' satellites and fall under, secondary in priority to the other regions. Moving on to the proposal details. There are a couple key considerations under this proposal: financial, political, social, and technological. This group estimates that the financial cost of such a venture would be 400 million. This is based on the GOES cost of around 150 million, the Huanjing cost of around 130 million, and the 400 million cost would be due to setup costs, transfer of knowledge costs, and construction costs. The second consideration is political. US and China have a history of working in Africa, both through humanitarian aid and infrastructural loans through initiatives like the Belt and Road Initiative and Build Back Better World. Third, social. It is crucial to consider American and Chinese public perceptions of such an intervention. We argue that the American public and the Chinese public would view this collaboration as mutually beneficial to advancing humankind. And in addition, this joint work would have a significant impact on environmental protection. Lastly, the technological consideration. Sensitive proprietary information stands at stake, with the US and China both contributing sensitive information. We propose that the US and China would retain the autonomy to decide which information is shared and which is not, therefore protecting their national security with sensitive intellectual property. We define success as the African Space Agency producing a geostationary environmental satellite within a 10-year timeframe and within a $400 million estimated budget.
And now on to the obstacles and solutions. The main hurdle that we face here in the US is the Wolf Amendment, which in 2011 restricted US-China collaboration over space. The only exception would be granted when the FBI, which had oversight over these projects, determined that there was no risk of information sharing, no threats to national security, essentially, and that there was no collaboration with officials who had direct involvement with human rights abuses. This is the major hurdle to collaboration, but in recent memory even, we've seen projects that have been able to bypass this and have resulted in massive success both for China and the US. The most recent example would be the Chaoyue project in 2019, in which the US provided oversight to China's lunar rover program. The results of them were shared globally, publicly, to the international research community, and this cleared the Wolf Amendment through careful congressional oversight. This is a type of collaboration that sets up the stage for future collaborations. If we are able to create a transparent, reciprocal, and mutually beneficial environment for this sort of work, then we believe that our proposal will fit right in with others like this. In conclusion, we would like to just end with a couple of perspectives showing that, next slide, showing that though our perspectives differ between nations, our end goal remains similar. Both the US and China have programs that would allow them to strengthen infrastructural ties between the US, China, and Africa. And we each have our individual reasons for wanting to engage in a program like this. For China, for example, that would be the connection between natural disasters and national security. And for the US, that would be being able to maintain a competitive position with regards to oversight of space. Nonetheless, the mutual benefits that it would provide would be increasing roles in global climate governance and reestablishing the historical precedent that once characterized the US-China relationship. We believe this proposal offers an unprecedented way of offering Africa the help that it needs and finding a way to repair the relationship between the largest powers in space currently. Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.